The US dollar serves as the world's dominant reserve currency in international finance and trade since the middle of the 20th century. However, a stronger dollar could cause problems for investors. A stronger dollar, for example, reduces the value of foreign profits for US companies with operations in other countries, including many in the S&P 500 index. That's where BRICS come in. As we dive in, kindly subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and let's get started. The BRICS member countries. On the evening of June 23rd, President Xi Jinping hosted the 14th BRICS summit in Beijing. The main highlights focused on member countries, namely Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These countries have recently grown and expanded economically, thanks in large part to their cooperation. The BRICS countries have embraced the BRICS spirit of openness, inclusiveness, and win-win cooperation, strengthened solidarity and coordination, and collectively confronted the challenges. The BRICS countries account for 21% of global GDP. In the last 15 years, they have tripled their share of global GDP. Is BRICS a threat to the US dollar? The BRICS currency would represent a currency basket issued by countries from South and East Asia, Africa, and Latin America. The grouping would represent more than a third of the global GDP and would produce more than 25% of the world's oil and iron. This currency would directly challenge the dominant US dollar. The BRICS currency basket may be a trial balloon by President Putin to attract FX reserves from other BRICS nations and from nations within their sphere of influence. This could include countries from the CIS and a friendly regime in South Asia. Which country from BRICS has the strongest economy? BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa countries have become key players in the world trading system. Together, they are a strong force to reckon with. And analysts believe that these countries will become even more influential in the coming decades. Initially thought of solely in terms of their economies, BRICS countries have since consolidated their influence and become significant global players. They are also members of the G20 and the BRICS Forum, independent international organization that encourage political and commercial cooperation. Several more countries have expressed interest in joining the BRICS group. Currently, the United States, Japan, and Brazil are the world's largest economies. And the BRIC nations are poised to become even more powerful by 2050. Collectively, these countries have nearly 3 billion people and a combined economy of $20 trillion. Why the US dollar is losing global value. While the debate about dollar independence has focused on countries like China, Iran, Russia, and Venezuela, it's important to note that this issue has implications for other countries as well. While the dollar's role in the global currency system confers enormous geopolitical power to Washington, this role comes at an enormous economic cost for American businesses and producers. This cost will only increase as the rest of the world grows in size relative to the United States. As the world's reserve currency, the US dollar is important to global trade. Multinational companies use US dollars to price their goods and settle their accounts. In addition, most goods and commodities are traded in dollars. Many investors need dollars to trade and invest in the stock and bond markets in the United States. In fact, global foreign direct investment flows will increase by 7% in 2021 compared to the previous year. In the United States, foreign investment is expected to increase by 114% to $323 billion. BRICS countries and their strategy. During the 2010s, BRICS countries vigorously supported the International Monetary Fund (IMF). They also recently announced their intention to form the BRICS New Development Bank, a supposed replacement for the World Bank. The World Bank is an institution that was created in 1944 as part of the Bretton Woods International Monetary System. Its capital is provided through member state contributions and loans on international money markets. Originally, the World Bank financed public and private projects in Third World and East European countries. Today, it comprises a number of closely associated institutions. While BRICS cohesion has largely centered around frustrations with financial speculation, which nearly brought down the world economy in 2008, there were other commonalities among the BRICS group. For example, they share similar views on Iran, the Arab-sprung Middle East, and Northern Africa. They also share a frustration with neoliberalism and global finance. Is BRICS a success or failure? The BRICS have been a controversial grouping, but their emergence as economic powerhouses in the 21st century has been welcomed by a number of observers. They are the 5 emerging economies of the world, and collectively they represent 3.2 billion people. As such, they have enormous influence over global affairs and economic cooperation between emerging economies. After their formation, the BRICS countries grew their share of global output from 8 to 15%. However, after the global financial crisis of 2008, the BRIC economies were affected unevenly. Russia was hit the hardest, but China and Brazil recovered from the crisis. India, however, was an anomaly, recovering at twice its rate from pre-crisis levels by 2010. These countries were much more resilient to the crisis than other industrialized nations, including the United States and Japan.